Okay, so I was pretty pleased with my first Acro flight. Things seemed to go pretty well. You saw there's some issues with vibration and with radio range, and it was good enough to do some more flights the next day. And I set out to push Acro a bit further, get to flips and rolls, and also look at some of these issues. Okay, it's another beautiful day, not quite as good as yesterday, but still calm, warm, bit of cloud, so another good day for some tuning. Based on my experiences of yesterday, I made a couple of changes to the copter, and I'll just show those to you now. Okay, so the first thing you can see is that I've switched to monopole antennas in a sort of V shape out the back because I was getting such poor range off these immortal T's under the frame. And I've just done a sort of loop round in Acro, and that's much better. I'm getting much more what I would expect from this sort of frame, so that seems like a better configuration. I think probably if I can work out a way to mount the immortal T's out like this, then I might do that. But obviously the problem with this is when it flaps around, these props can damage it. And in fact, I was getting some clipping because as the load comes on, the props flex upwards, and if you're not careful, they can clip this. So that's one change I made. Another change, getting a lot of vibration, and so what I've done is I've remounted the ESCs. You probably can't see there, but I've shortened the nylon nuts underneath just to drop it down a bit, so that these gummies can be sort of more relaxed. I had them screwed on quite tight because there wasn't quite enough length in the bolts there, but with them taken down a bit, I think that'll reduce the vibration a bit. I still was getting vibration compensation when I flew around, but it seemed to be a bit better, so I'll be interested to see what the log is like. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to do another Acro flight now. What I'm probably going to do is, what I've noticed is that the second IMU has a lot less, well, has no clipping relative to the first one. It's a sort of trusty old MPU 6000, and they're known to be a bit sort of more tolerant of noise, whereas the other one is a 2060 ICM 20602, I think. So what I'm going to do is switch off the ICM 20602, so I'll just have one EKF call running. I'll only be using the MPU 6000, but because it's lower noise, I'm hoping maybe I get a bit better performance that way. So I'm going to try that, see how that goes. And then the other thing, everything's set up for flips and rolls. I always find this a bit nerve-wracking on a new copter, so I'll probably go up fairly high, try a roll, try a flip, and if anything goes wrong, hopefully I've got enough height to recover. But we'll see how it goes, and I'll catch it all on camera. So here's the Acro flight. I've started the video in the middle of the flight just to skip out the boring bits. But what I was trying to do was get up high and do flips and rolls, and also in particular look for the smoothness of the flips and rolls. Did it like catch in the middle? And also on some of the turns and so on, was there a wobble at the end? Did it hold position well coming out, hold ankle well coming out of the flips and rolls? So this is it. You can see I'm still getting a little bit of vibration compensation on there, even despite using the second IMU. But that was one of the reasons I wanted to do some more tuning after this. And actually, vibration compensation doesn't affect you in Acro mode. It would affect you if you were flying in another mode, but because Acro is essentially completely pilot controlled, there's no sort of impact on the handling of the aircraft while that's going on. You can also see that the signal is much better here than the day before. The range was just a lot better. And then I hit RTL and come home. Okay, so that was the flight, and I was pretty pleased with that. Okay, mission accomplished. So that went pretty well, flew pretty well. I still got a little bit of vibration compensation, but not so bad, so we'll see what the log looks like. And I managed flips and rolls, and the copter performed pretty well, so I was pretty happy with the tune. I will be doing some more extensive auto tune just to sort of try and find out where the sweet spot for the filters are, because too aggressive a tune can put too much vibration into the motors and not only causes them to heat up, but you get less flight time. So we're looking for good flight time with this. But there is one thing to note, so I'll just show you that now. Okay, so here's the copter, and you can see my little monopole on this side is looking a bit sad because the prop has chopped it off. So I scavenged these off an orange RX because they were a bit longer, and now they won't be going back, unfortunately. So I have to figure out a better solution than that, and it's clearly scraped this quite considerably. So these are okay, but they're not quite out of the way enough, so I need to figure out. So that I'm quite pleased with that configuration, but they're not quite in a position to avoid the props, which I kind of want to do. And actually you can see here the prop has been damaged a little bit, which is kind of annoying. So I have to replace that. So yeah, there we go. So all in all, a great day, mission accomplished. So I've got the log here of that Acro video I took, and I'm just going to do a little bit of analysis on it. So if I go to throttle again, you can see that this is, so I sort of switched to RTL so that I could start the video and get ready for the flight, and then I switched to Acro, RTL again. So this is the flight I videoed, and you can see that I got up to about 0.75 throttle at points during there. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the vibration. And if you see the vibration, we've only got one IMU here, so we're only using one IMU. If I look at 5x, 5y, 5z, and so I think the interesting thing here is that the vibration is really pretty low. So if you remember, the Y vibration in particular, which is this blue one, was up around peaking at 25 during hover, and you can see that here. As soon as we get into RTL, suddenly the vibration goes up a bit. So I think there's some sort of frame resonance going on at lower throttle. You can see at high throttle the vibration is really not too bad, and if we look at the clipping, there's no clipping at all, so that's perfect. So I'm pretty pleased with that. That's, you know, this is a good result. Sort of between 5 and 10 for vibration is pretty good. And so I think the vibration compensation is probably more to do with the mag than it is to do with the vibration, which confirms my theory. And then the other thing I want to do is look at the rate. So we go back here to rate, which is here. I'm going to look at it, R out, P out, Y out. And so A out is sort of the throttle, essentially. So it's this center bit of the log that we're interested in, from Acro to the end of Acro. Sort of there. Okay, so you can see that the vibration is, so this is 0.2, 0.1 is about here. So it's below 0.1, it's kind of more like 0.05 for a lot of it. It peaks up when the throttle peaks up, but not, I mean, you know, which you'd expect. So this is pretty good, I would say. I think we'd probably do a bit better than this, but I would say this is pretty good. But just really interesting how much, you know, as soon as you get into this low throttle environment down here, so remember the hover throttles are like 0.13 down here, suddenly the vibration peaks up. So I'm pretty pleased with that. I think the other thing just to look at is, if we look at roll, so if you remember we did some rolls here, flips and rolls. If we look at desired roll versus actual roll, so let's take one of these rolls here. So you can see we do the full 360 here, and the error is really pretty low. So this is where we come out of the roll, and this is where we're looking for the error, is at the end of the roll, and also sort of at the midpoint of the roll here. So at the end of the roll where we stop, there's a little jiggle, so that's 4 degrees or something. 2, 4, yeah, 4 degrees. It's a bit higher than the 2 degrees here, but still that's not bad. And then if we look at similarly for pitch, so you see here is where I did a flip. Let's look at this flip here. Okay, so pitch is a bit worse. You see we come out of the pitch and that's getting on for 10 degrees error, which is quite large. And that corresponds to what we see in the tune. So if you remember, there's more noise on the y-axis. The tune is harder. We seem to get just more vibration on the y-axis. And so this doesn't surprise me, but I think it also goes to show that what happens is these tunes get over-tuned on the y-axis, and I think it's something to do with it. So the length of you can see it's quite long, the copter, and so we've sort of got a lot of length up and down here, and then we've got this bit of TPE on the end here, which I'm sure vibrates at this as well. So I think that's why. And so this tune is pretty good, but what I'm gonna do is do several auto tunes at different filter settings, just to try and get it a little bit more locked in. But this is not too bad at all, and certainly a good result. So that done, I'm just going to show a short clip of the changes I made to the antenna to get the better range. Okay, just a short video on my new antenna strategy. So I've taken these long immortal T's off, wasn't getting good range. I tried with a sort of fantail configuration with these monopoles that I scavenged off an Orange RX, and that went pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these TBS sleeve dipole. So it's a dipole, so two parts to the antenna, but one half is a sleeve around the other bit so that they can be straight. The great thing about these is that you can get a piece of this tubing on there to give them some support, and they're not going to flap around like these might out the back. The challenge is that this UFL connector is too big to go down the sleeve, and so I just wanted to show a quick video of how I did this, because I worked out a way and it worked pretty well, but I don't want people to struggle. So you need some of this tubing. There's tubing that comes with the kit, and that's probably good enough. Could do with it being a bit longer. So these are 50cm pieces of tubing, which is a bit longer than the tube that comes with the kit, which is more like, I don't know, 40cm. I mean, it could do with being longer than that still, I suppose, but I'm reasonably happy with that. So if you've got extra tubing, you can use it. So what I did to get it on the antenna was that I took a piece of this tubing and I sliced down one side like that, so you can slice, and it was fairly soft plastic, so it was easy with a craft knife. And then I tried sort of pushing it in all the way along, and that was really too difficult. So what I discovered is that if you get it started, so you push it in one end of the cut that you've just made, once you've got it in, you can then basically slide the whole thing up the tube and it'll all just go in quite easily. You get a little bit of a crimp at this end, but apart from that it works fine. And then the other thing is that these UFL connectors are just slightly too large for these holes here. So what you need to do is just get a little screwdriver and push them in gently. They will go through the holes before wiring it all up. And then what I'm going to do is when it's all together, I've got to put some more heat shrink on the tracer module here. When it's all together, I'll put some heat shrink on the tube, just to give it a little bit more support and a little bit more strength, and that should hold it all together nicely. And I'm expecting those to have good range, so we'll see how that goes.